Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Pulp Studio presentation today. I'm Mike Nicholas, the Director of Major Project Sales in our Eastern Division. Today's presenter is going to be our National Sales Manager, Karen Rains.
Oh, I love the chat. People from all over the country. Awesome.
Great, yes.
I love it. Okay, people are still filtering in, but I don't want to keep everybody waiting. We've got Mike online. As he, for those of you who missed his introduction, Mike is our Director of Major Projects on the East Coast. He is going to be moderating the chats today and answering any questions as you have them throughout this presentation. And we love questions. I really prefer the live format where I get to be interrupted and answer your questions in real time. But Mike will be doing that for us at the chat. And then at the end of the presentation, if anybody's asked something that Mike feels should be shared with the group, we'll do that out loud afterwards as well for anybody who might want to stick around at the end. Just for those of you who are jumping on board now, I'm Karen Rains. I'm the National Sales Manager for Pulp Studio. I have been with Pulp since 2008. Started as an independent rep in the Pacific Northwest, and I'm still here in Seattle, but I've been the National Sales Manager since 2016. So before we get started this morning, let's go over a couple housekeeping items. So today you're going to be earning one AIA Learning unit, and I'm so happy to see there's so many procrastinators out there in the world just like me. Thank you. I will try and keep this to about 50 minutes, so we have time for question and answers after the presentations. Like I said, chat your questions. Mike's going to be moderating the chat and answering as we go. You must be here for 45 minutes to get attendance. And then after our presentation, you're going to be sent an email that's going to ask for your AIA number and your contact information to get credit. And we will try and get all of that entered before the end of the year, because that's why we're here. You've seen my name, Karen Rains, an email address down there at the bottom. You are welcome to reach out to me at any time. Standard protocol at Pulp is that I want to know where you are in the country, and I will direct you to your local rep and make that introduction if you don't already know them. Before we get started with our CEU today, I'm just going to do a brief introduction to Pulp Studio in case anybody isn't familiar with who we are and what we do. So we just threw a poll up there. Go ahead and answer, basically asking kind of for some who is familiar, who has used Pulp Studio before on a project. So go to that poll as I talk. But Pulp Studio, we are based in Gardena, California. We are 15 minutes from LAX, and we love having visitors. So if you can work a plant tour into a site visit or anything that you happen to be doing in Los Angeles, we would love to host you. But we specialize in both interior and exterior architectural specialty glass. Cutting edge graphics, that's what we're going to talk about today. Definitely a strong suit for us. We acquired California Glass Bending about 8 years ago. So we do bent and compound bent glass under that subsidiary name of California Glass Bending. We stock oversized and jumbo lights. We're certified insulators for Guardian, Vitro, and Sgp. We've been making switch light privacy glass for about 20 years now. We Dermaglass, chemically strengthened glass. We'll touch on that just a little bit, but it's a guerrilla competitor and something that we do a lot in elevator glass. We also do chemically strengthened glass quite a bit for guardrails, and then ballistic, blast-resistant lights, and more. As a brief overview, just for anybody who's not familiar, we'll talk about this from a graphic standpoint more once we start the presentation. But I like to point out that vertical skatable wall that was installed in Seattle. 65 by 132, it's almost 2 inches thick, and does have a graphic interlayer. It was constructed like a floor. And it was fabricated to plus or minus 0 tolerance for that alignment with concrete. And anybody who's worked with glass, you know that even in 1/4 inch monolithic pieces of glass, plus or minus 0 tolerance is hard to come by from a fabricator, let alone something that's triple laminated and 2 inches thick. but that's what we're known for. Our fabrication specialty is a lot of the reason why people come to us on their projects. This is an example here that you're looking at of what to expect from us in an annealed laminated makeup. You know, you've got 4 plies of glass there, but you can see there isn't that inside chamfer or eris like sometimes you find with laminated glass. We post-polish glass, so you can always expect that perfectly aligned and flat edge from us. We have our precision edge. This is something that we even do on laminated tempered glass. What you can expect from us there is on the left. I'm sure everybody's seen laminated edges that look like the right, but because we do that post-polished edge, and we will guarantee that post-polished edge against breakage, you can always expect that perfect alignment that you see there on the left. Museum of the Bible. I'm going to ask you to file this one away in your memory. We're going to talk about this from an installation standpoint during the CEU. But what you're looking at is 8 floors of laminated graphic guardrail. The graphic is 23 feet long before it repeats. So there are no 2 pieces of glass in this installation that are the same size, shape, and have the same graphic on them. So we'll talk about that from an installation standpoint a little bit later. And then in the foreground, that is a fire-rated glass floor. We do fire-rated glass, but always in combination or collaboration with somebody who specializes in fire-rated glass. We do a lot of work with both TGP and safety. So what you're looking at there is a floor. We fabricated the glass, but it's installed in TGP's fire-rated system. Sale went through TGP. So when you're looking to install fire-rated glass in a specialty application, that's certainly something that we can collaborate on and bring in a supplier to help us do that. Pintura back-painted glass, something we paint miles and miles of back-painted glass on a regular basis. You are not limited by color, size, shape. We'll fabricate anything you want down to a 1/16 of an inch. You're welcome to choose from our standard colors or specify one of your own. No extra charge for that. It's a hard coat water-based system. It's perfect for interior applications where you need that detail. And it can't be scratched off the back. Installers love it. Entirely water-based proprietary system that we have, qualifies for LEED credits. And of course, no VOCs either in manufacturing or installation. Elevator cab interiors. We do a lot of elevator cabs across the nation. We work with all major car companies as well as cab installers. Elevator glass, as you know, has to be laminated to meet code. So we've got laminated color, laminated mirror, laminated graphics. We have our aluminum honeycomb system, and we've got to keep things ultra lightweight, and of course our derma glass as well, which is perfect for refreshes. But elevator interiors are certainly a passion of mine, and I love the projects that we get to work on across the nation. Again, Switchlight privacy glass that I mentioned, we've been doing this, this says 18 years, but we're up to 20 now. And this is the clear, you know, goes from clear to translucent. It's techie, it's fun, it's sexy, everybody wants it, and it's also expensive. It generally gets installed when there is a need for the product, not just a desire on your customer's part. But we have a completely warranted system, electronics and glass. We have a great warranty, and we've been doing it for quite a while. Overstock.com in Salt Lake City, I'm going to point out that kind of what looks like a glowing halo there. That's a Walker Textures acid etch. And we do, I like to mention it not only because it's a beautiful bent project that we worked on, laminated with Sgp, of course, for that exterior use, but we do a lot of work with Walker Textures and have a great partnership with them. I'm sure in your libraries, if you have the ability to be in your libraries, you've got Walker Textures sitting on the shelf, but we're one of the largest distributors in the nation for Walker. And if you've got a subcontractor that calls them to buy a particular etch, most of the time Walker just directs people straight to us. So they have beautiful, beautiful products that we enjoy working with. San Francisco Public Safety Building, I'm going to talk about this. This is, we don't often do the entire facade of a building. It's got to be something pretty unique. And in this one, the stars just aligned because it's a combination of low-E outboard, custom ceramic, Frit print, and then the ballistic, level 3 ballistic glass in these units. So most of the work that we do on facades, podium level, any portion of a bent facade, But this is one project where we did the whole thing. Same here, Aquarium of the Pacific. I'm sure you've seen this project a lot in the past year. It's won a number of awards and been featured quite a bit in trade publications. But this is one, there are a number of people certainly who could have fabricated this. Nothing particularly tricky about the glass makeup. But there are no two pieces of glass on this building that are the same size, shape, and most of them do not have square corners. For that reason, there are a lot of people who their production floor just isn't set up for that. And we welcome these odd and unique ones. So this was a very fun project to work on that definitely touched every single part of our production floor. Then the Space Needle. This is one great project. We did all the insulated units on the Space Needle, both levels of the Space Needle, and we got called in kind of late in this game. Everything was specified overseas, but they were having some issues with the Sgp lamination, something that we do very well. So these exterior units are, it's very unique makeup. Had never been installed before anywhere in the world. We've got lots of anti-reflective lights as well as the low E glass. But I encourage you, if you are in Seattle, definitely come visit this. Architecturally, it is just an amazing renovation, beautiful, beautiful project, and so much glass. This is a view from the restaurant level here where you've got that rotating glass floor that you see. We did not do the glass floor, but this is also a very unique installation in that that floor does not have a slip-resistant coating on the surface of it. They got around that code by having somebody whose full-time job it is to keep that glass clean and dry. So there's this cute little mini Zamboni that is always circulating on that floor, keeping it clean and dry, just to avoid any slipping. But right, you're looking out at what used to be the restaurant level there. And then the interior glass staircase, we mentioned Dermaglass, our chemically strengthened glass, but we also, we own the second largest chemical tempering tank in the world. And so we also do chemical strengthening of handrail glass. This was one where it was specified just a traditionally thermally tempered piece of glass. But as you can see here on this bottom piece, you've got your radius and then a straight leg where the glass meets the floor. You have that same condition at the top of the stairs as well. And that's not a shape that can be accomplished traditionally in thermal bending. So we did that using, it's annealed bent, laminated, and then chemically strengthened for safety. So there are some documents, some files that you're going to see that you can look at if you have any questions about Dermaglass or chemically strengthened glass, and even Pulp Studio's capabilities. In the Files tab, you're going to find some things for further information that you can download if you're interested there. Okay, let's get started. Normally, this is a point where I ask for any questions. So if you have any questions, throw them in the chat for Mike to answer. But again, this is an AIA registered CEU. We're going to talk about graphic imaging in glass for both interior and exterior applications. All the legalese here and our copyright. Okay, course description. We are going to cover the most common methods and technologies that are used to combine complex graphics with architectural and decorative glass. We're going to identify the most common types of graphic glass products. We'll talk about the performance characteristics of the various production methods and technologies. How you qualify the manufacturer of graphic-based products and the questions to ask them. And then how you provide the necessary source materials to the manufacturer in correct format so that you get the required quality and aesthetic levels that you're looking for. The technologies that we're going to talk about, we'll talk about ceramic decoration through screen printing, flatbed digital printing that uses both UV and ceramic inks. We'll talk about digital printing with ceramics, image creation on a secondary photographic inner layer, image creation directly onto the polyvinyl butyryl inner layer, the PVB, the glue that often is used for laminating glass, holding glass together. And then we'll talk about surface treatments. Okay, so to get started, we'll start with ceramic frit. Ceramic frit, in its infancy, still sometimes used today, was always a silk screened process where the patterns are permanently bonded to the glass face, where the ink is screened onto the glass face. The permanent bond in any ceramic frit always happens in the thermal process, either heat strengthening or fully tempering of glass. So anytime you use ceramic frit in any method of print, it is going to be either heat strengthened glass or fully tempered glass. You need that heat process to fire the ceramic inks onto the surface. So the silk screen process, benefits of this: highly durable and very cost effective for large projects with repeating patterns. Screen creation is expensive. Screen setup is expensive. This isn't something that you use if you have 5, 6, 7 different patterns on the facade of a building or on your project. Screen printing is definitely one, your simple line patterns, dots, staggered dots. Those are reasons to still use screen printing. Keeping in mind, under the limitations though, pattern variation, which I already mentioned, size, architectural glass is far exceeding traditional screen sizes, or what's easy to work with in screens. So that's something to think about. And then color. This color limitation of ceramic frit is, this is for all processes. It's because ceramic frit is a spot color process. The inks are mixed to match a particular color. It is not a CMYK process. Always a spot color process, no matter how it is being used. And there are just some colors that are not available. Fire engine red, lemon yellow, lime green, fuchsia, those very bright colors, bright, vibrant colors are just not achievable in ceramic frit. This is an example of ceramic frit though, and I think it's a great example. This is a transit station. Every single bus stop in the entire county uses this glass and this pattern in this size and shape. Some of the bus stops are much larger, some of them are much smaller, but it's a great example of using ceramic frit. No pattern variation. You've got the single color white. I'm sure the county maintains a very large attic stock for when they have breakage, because every size, shape, pattern, it's all exactly the same. It's another example of screen printed ceramic frit, and I like this example better. It looks like it's snowy. But again, you can see glass size isn't very large. You only have the color white, no pattern variation. Flatbed printing. We're going to touch on UV inks, but this is also something you can flatbed print ceramic inks as well. This is where the glass is put onto a flatbed printer. The ink is applied directly to the surface of the glass. In UV printing though, the ink is not chemically bonded to the surface. I like to talk about UV printing because we all still see this in specifications sometimes, even though UV printing is never anything that we would recommend for an architectural installation. UV inks get their name because they are cured with a UV light. They are not UV stable at all. So this still gets used today in signage elements, interior retail, but it's certainly not anything that you would want to use for an architectural installation because the color will fade. You can scratch the ink off the surface with your fingernails. And again, you're going to be limited to the size of the printer when you use flatbed printing. It's an interior retail example of printing with UV inks though, and examples of flatbed printers. Digital printing using ceramic inks. This is where we are today. And it's a process that allows the ceramic ink to be applied directly to the glass via an inkjet type machine. The ink is still cured, fired onto the surface in that thermal process. It is also still a spot color process, even in this inkjet type machine. The inks are again UV stable. This is definitely an architectural product. You're going to be limited to the size of the printer, but it's going to be much larger than flatbed. Most printers, most ceramic ink printers are printing about 96 by 236 as a max dimension, so very large. Again, not all colors are available. Your resolution is great. 800 dpi is a typical achievable resolution with digital printers. The process can be slow. It is graphic dependent. There is a process that can be printed using digital ceramic ink where it's like a permanent bus wrap, where you've got a dot-on-dot printing. So maybe you have a dark gray dot on the interior of your building and a very vibrant graphic on the outside of your building. So 2 graphics laid down in every dot of ink, or 2 colors laid down in every dot of ink to make your graphic. Of course, that would be a much slower process than just a single pass of a single color. This is an example, though, of digital printing using ceramic inks. And you can tell when you look at the left of the installation, you've got a lot of white ink, solid white ink laid down. As you move across the screen, you've got more colors that are introduced. You can see that every single piece of glass is a different pattern. This would have been an incredibly cost-prohibitive installation in anything other than digital ceramic frit. You certainly wouldn't have wanted to do this in a screen-printed process. These are examples of digital printers that utilize ceramic inks. Okay, imaging on photographic interlayer. So we're going to switch gears here to laminated processes. So this is a true photographic process where the image is printed on a secondary film negative. Think acetate, like your film negative film, laminated between glass. This is by far my favorite print method if you can deal with all the limitations, and I'll talk about that a little bit. But benefits: incredible color saturation, best color ever in this process, incredible resolution detail. It is truly photographic. And then you have the flexibility in design and non-repeating patterns because you're not going to have setup fees with this print process. Now, limitations: 57 inches in width only. That is small for an architectural installation, right? It is also interior use only. This is not a UV stable process. It will fade in an exterior environment. Excuse me. This process, though, this is the only one that I would recommend for backlighting, so that you start with a graphic that has the most color saturation, of course, right? Because light washes out color. So let's start with what is the most saturated to begin with. It's also perfect for elevator cab interiors when you're getting within inches of a graphic installation and you want to have the best resolution and photographic quality that you can have. It's an example here of photographic imaging on the interlayer. Image creation on PVB interlayer. Before we talk about this, I'll take a step backwards, almost a decade. When this came to market, this was Century Glass Expressions. It was a Dupont patented process. And I like to bring that up because there are a lot of people who are familiar with that trade name, Century Glass Expressions, or SGX. And that is exactly what this is, printing directly onto the PVB interlayer. Dupont sold to Carrari. Carrari let that patent lapse. There are kind of few people supporting this print type in the world than there used to be. But so we just refer to it now as printing directly onto the PVB interlayer. But it used to be called Century Glass Expressions, one and the same if you're familiar with those names. So this is an inkjet printing process where the image is printed onto the PVB and then it's bonded in a composite, of course, that includes the glass and the PVB. You've got a printing width of 96 inches. Most printers that can handle this are doing 96 by 236 as well. Incredible resolution detail. This is a CMYK process, and it is a CMYK plus white process. So you've got those 5 heads, and you have the ability to print white with or without added color. In this process, all of the inks are inherently transparent, except for the color white. White is translucent. So if you have a graphic design where you want areas of clear viewing through your glass, but you want your graphic to really pop, you want there to be translucency in the rainbow that you're putting down on the graphic, for example, we will mix all of that color with white to help it stand out, give translucency to all of your colors, but still allow for that area of clear viewing. This is exterior stable and sustainable. We have testing up to 14 years with no visible fade. You've got the flexibility in design and non-repeating patterns. No setup fees for this either. Can be combined with various diffusing interlayers. Because this is a PVB print, you can laminate multiple PVBs in that single lamination layer. So you can take your graphic print and laminate it with a frost PVB or a trans white PVB. Or maybe you want to print white but laminate with a bright orange Vanceva, which is PVB. Those can all be combined in the same lamination layer. PVB is also used to laminate various glass types, mirrors, to float, to textures. All of them can be used in this print process. You can use it in an insulated unit because it's UV stable. It can be the inboard light or outboard light of your insulated unit, depending on your energy requirements and where it's most important for you, for your graphic to be seen. You've got the benefits of laminated glass in both STC and UV protection. You do produce in small quantities. You can even do multi-layer graphics, even in triple lamination, quadruple lamination, or even multi-layer graphics in the same layer to accomplish that illusion of depth. Limitations: color saturation of some colors. Quite honestly, it's the color saturation of all colors, but what is visible most is the color black. PVB, clear PVB, prior to going into an autoclave, being put between two pieces of glass, is milky white, translucent, and it dilutes color a little bit. So I would never recommend this print process for backlighting because you're already starting from a less saturated point than in other print processes. And black is one where you will see just by looking that it does not look as dark or as saturated as what you will get with other print colors. This is an example of printing on PVB. In this installation, of course, you've got your area of clear viewing there in the corridor. White ink, as well as being an intentional part of the graphic, was mixed with color to provide translucency and a little bit of privacy to the people who are sitting at the desks. But this is an example of printing on PVB, and you have a color plus white print application. Digital surface treatments. In this one, anything that happens to the first surface of glass or to the surface of glass is a surface treatment. Acid etch, other chemical etches, sandblasting, laser etch. Those are all what we would call a surface treatment. We're going to talk specifically about laser etching because that's the only one where you can achieve photographic resolution. So digital surface treatments, in this case laser etching, utilizes digital files in the surface etching of the face of the glass. Benefits: fast sampling. It's easy to do. Low cost preparation for non-repeating images. Got great resolution quality. It is photographic. And I've got remakes there kind of in parentheses because this is very much a CNC process. Also similar to digital ceramic frit, right? If you know the glass size, you have the exact same file that you used the first time around. Doing a remake is incredibly easy. It's going to be exactly the same. But if you think about the two laminated processes that we've already gone over, you've got that human element, right? So you have a person who is taking film, putting it between two pieces of glass prior to going in the autoclave. You still have the same graphic file and you still know the glass sizes, but you've got that human element. So whenever there's a remake in any of the laminated processes, there are a lot more questions that have to be asked about the graphic and critical alignment panel to panel to make sure that the remakes come out exactly the same as they were done the first time. But remakes in the digital surface treatments are very easy. Limitations though, and these are big: you have no applied color. You etch a piece of glass, it etches to white, period. Slower production. In laser technology, you are charged for laser time. So the more intricate your graphic, the longer it spends under the laser, the more expensive it's going to be. And this is the biggest limitation, so much so that if you call me tomorrow because you have a laser etch project that you want to do, I'm going to do everything I can to talk you out of it. You create a porous surface in glass anytime you etch it by any means. I'm sure you can all think of installations maybe that you've done, maybe that you've seen. It's an etched installation, goes in, it looks absolutely gorgeous when it first goes in. Then it starts to get grimy, maybe around door handles, waist height, where people are brushing up against it, where coffee is splashing. It's because that porous surface absorbs everything that comes in contact with it. If you have an installation like that, a Mr. Clean Magic Eraser is certainly your friend. I don't know what's in those things, and they scare me a little bit, but they are absolutely wonderful for cleaning etched glass. Also, another reason, before I go, I'll go back to that for a sec, we'll leave it there. But digital ceramic frit has come a long way, and there's satin inks that are out on the market, and the satin inks do an incredible job of emulating an etched look. So that's what I would try and talk you into, is to do a satin ink print so that we can emulate the etch that you're looking for without creating a porous surface on your glass. So we have solutions to the problems. Here's an example though of some laser etching. Top left there, you can see obviously CNC machine, right? Top right-hand corner, just a ground floor guardrail with a simple etch pattern. And then that bottom, bottom right image, this is a great use of laser etch machine. So what you're looking at is a piece of bronze mirror that has had the silvering removed from the back, from the second surface. And then of course it is being backlit. So you, in this installation, you have a very clean, cleanable first surface that is not touched. All of the etching happens on the back where the people can't get to. And by using a laser etch, you've also created that beautiful etched surface, which is great for backlighting. It's diffusing the light, it's hiding hot spots. It's a great use of the laser technology. And this can be done with mirrors. It can be done with back painted glass, where you use the laser basically to remove that pattern off the second surface. Okay, case studies. This is normally where I ask for questions if anybody has questions. So type those in the chat to Mike. Before we start talking about these case studies, also in the Files tab, you're going to find some product data sheets for digital ceramic frit, printing on photographic interlayer, and then an example of printing on PVB. So go ahead and grab those from the files if you are curious about those. Case studies. This is Riverbank Bruins, and I don't know who's on here, but if you're here and you live in Northern California and you know where this Riverbank High School is, make sure you let Mike know in the chat. This wasn't my project, and I didn't work on this, but the tale that is told, or at least the folklore that it's become now, is that either through specification or construction, power was not run to the street for the signage that was supposed to be installed. And the last ditch effort was to give this teeny tiny high school in California some graphic glass on that corridor. I don't know how much of that is true, but that's what we say now. I like to show this photo though. You can see how absolutely beautiful this looks at dusk. And then we're going to do the contrast here, daytime. So that top right photo, you can see you've got a lot of reflection of the parking lot and those trees, of course, that are going to grow up. I don't know if it was possible that the graphic in this could have been moved to the outboard light. Of course, you're going to still have reflections. It's glass. But on the outboard light, the graphic would have been a little bit more visible in the daytime than keeping it in the inboard light. And then that interior corridor would have looked exactly the same, whether the graphic was inboard or outboard. What you're looking at is just blue ink that is laid down on a trans white PVB. San Francisco Municipal Building. Up until recently, this was, we referred to this as the longest running project at Pulp Studio. I think we started talking about it at least a decade before it was built. When we started talking about it, what they were talking about was basically an etch and color fill of all of the white lines of those trolley car parts that you see on that facade. But by the time it came to fruition and installation, the printing on PVB existed. So what you're looking there on at the outboard light is just a white print that is laminated in the, it's printed on the PVB, laminated, and you've got a blue inboard light. Gun barrel. I'm going to throw another poll up here quick. I am curious to know who has purchased online digital photography for an architectural installation. It doesn't have to be glass. Maybe you've done it in a high resolution vinyl wall coloring, but have you purchased online digital photography from someplace like Getty, Corbis, iStock Photos, all of those different libraries? I like to talk about that when we look at this slide gun barrel, because this is one where this is it's a multifamily installation, Colorado. You're looking at an elevator lobby. That graphic is a little over 9 feet tall, 20 feet long, and it was a photo that was purchased online, digital photography purchased online. And if you've done that, you know that even at the highest resolution, what you often get is something that's 18 by 24 at 300 DPI, which is suitable for a poster. Not a graphic installation of this size. So in this particular case, the artist worked with our art department beforehand, before making a purchase, and our art director helped facilitate the purchase of the best installation to kind of fit the parameters that they needed. And drum scanning process was gone through to make the graphic as tall as it needed to be. And then there's some flipping and flopping and tiling of those aspen trees to make them fit the entire 20 feet long. So if you look closely, you can find places in this installation where the graphic repeats. But the graphic does lend itself very well towards this installation. Also in this one, I'll point out, I don't remember who the installer was, but they did an excellent job of hiding hotspots in this backlit installation as well. You can't really see any light seams. They did a great job there. Seattle Center Skate Park. This was originally installed, I want to say, in 2009. It's a public art project, which a number of our graphics installations always are. This, you're looking at a portion of a fence that was an entire city block long. I think it was made up of 13 panels. Each panel is the photograph of a broken skateboard deck. And this is printed on PVB, laminated with frost PVB as well to provide that translucency. So this fence looks exactly the same whether you are inside the skate park or outside the skate park. The graphics have that same vibrancy, translucency to the panels, providing a little privacy. This looks like it is a frameless installation. I always like to point this out because, as you know, PVB is not suitable for an exterior frameless installation, certainly not in Seattle because PVB wicks moisture out of the air. But there are stainless caps on the edges of this glass that you just can't see right now very well in this photo. So it looks frameless, but is not. This is an installation that's completed. This is the San Diego Airport, I believe, International Terminal. And this installation is called Carry On. So on the top right, what you're looking at and what this entire elevation is made of are kind of embellished scans of our carry-on luggage. So you can see in the middle of that one on the top left there, or top right, there's a little tractor there. And this is a combination of digital ceramic frit and printing on the PVB inner layer. That was done because the artist who worked on this was Walter Hood, wanted to make sure that there were areas where the graphic popped a little bit more. There was less light transmission through the graphic so that it stood out. And then, of course, areas where you had great light transmission. That's the PVB print. So when you look at that bottom installation, or that bottom photo there where you're looking at it through the exterior facade, that condition is happening on the other side of the installation as well. It's not a backlit wall. You've got ambient lighting plus some installed lighting, but so you've got that same installation condition on the other side of the corridor. It's very cool. It's a World War II memorial in St. Paul, Minnesota. These blades, you can tell they're fully framed. Printed on PVB with a frost inner layer. You can see that in the translucency, we lose this gentleman's shoulder here. These do look exactly the same, no matter which side of the monument you are standing on. So if you are on the back side, of course, the text is going to be backwards. It's the Andaz Hotel in Hollywood. This is printed on photographic inner layer. You've just got that top and bottom lighting there, nothing that is completely backlit. My understanding of this one is that what we are looking at is kind of an artistic rendition of just a photograph of a stone sample, something that was done with 4x6 film negative camera. We always recommend, if you have the ability to photograph something that you are going to use for a graphic installation, do it in real film rather than doing it digitally. You just get much better enhancement from real film than digital photography. This is a project New Orleans Museum of Modern Art recently installed an outdoor sculpture garden, and this is a bridge called Mississippi Meanders. So you're looking at basically a historical topographic map of the Mississippi River and how it has changed paths over time. This is printed using digital ceramic frit, and you're looking at 4 different layers of glass. There is a slip-resistant surface on the top, and of course, it was engineered to be that glass bridge. Cowboy Stadium elevators. I like to point out that they're playing the Seattle Seahawks in this installation. We have been working on the Cowboy Stadium since it was installed. They have a number of different elevators that each have a graphic from Cowboys history. On every couple of years, they pick an elevator to kind of refresh and put new photos in. So I believe we're still only into 80s era Cowboys right now. But it's a fun and ongoing project. You're looking at a photographic print. This is, of course, elevator cab interior. You've got no natural sunlight, so you don't have to worry about fading. And people can get, of course, within inches of this graphic. So you want the best resolution that you can have. McGuire Properties in Los Angeles. This is a very simple lime green, chartreuse green gradient fade print. You've got an anti-reflective first surface, so you're not going to get any direct reflections from overhead lights. And you've got a mirrored back. So as you walk past this installation, you're going to get a little bit of shadow play from the mirror on the back side. It's just a very simple but beautiful installation. And then the Occidental College in Los Angeles, you're looking at a compound bent laminated graphic glass here. White is the only color that has been laid down. The color that you see in this installation is accomplished with the LED walls. I'll show you this picture here so you can see the undulation of that wall. And this one is a little bit easier to tell that you're just looking at white ink. This is a very cool installation. My understanding, this is an active learning space. So there's a lot of questions and projects that are being broadcast on this wall at Occidental College. It's an interior installation. This looks like it is backlit, but it's not. It's just got a white opaque backing to it. It's photographic film. Those tree trunks are made up of aerial photographs of surrounding farmland for this art lobby installation. This is an installation, Eastern Washington University, Pence Union Building. This is one where the white that you see is a topographical map of the surrounding area to the college. It's called the Palouse. Very interesting geological history there, but the red is a school color. So when the architect came to us, this was a Perkins Will project, when they came to us, they had in mind that this was going to be done in all digital ceramic frit. But as we talked about, that red is a very hard color to achieve in digital ceramic frit print. So this was what we ended up doing is printing this, all of the white lines are printed in digital ceramic frit, and that red is actually Pintura back paint, because that red, that's a process that allowed the school colors Pantone match, but then the white in digital ceramic frit is great for that alignment in that big installation. This is another one. It's a beautiful installation. This wall, 2-story wall, is made up of 9 pieces of glass, and I think they did a great job on the seams in this one as well. And the Gores Group in Los Angeles. This is one, we started with this slide up. This building sits at the corner of Beverly and Wilshire. It's a very iconic building as you are entering Beverly Hills. And this was a refresh of the building. That what we're looking at is just a rain screen. It is not the curtain wall of the building. And you're looking at compound bent laminated graphic glass. We refer to those as pillows during manufacturing. Each unit was bent in a matched set. It's laminated with just a white net-looking graphic. I'll show you on the next slide. And that white graphic helps illuminate the building at night with the LED lights that they put on the building. It is that pillow pattern is also seen on the stone facade, carried into the interior of the building as well. I always like to joke on this one too. I'm not sure that there was any budget to this building, and I don't know if that's an architect's dream or nightmare. But here you can see the close-up there of that net pattern and that white graphic, and the LED channels. You know, the LEDs kind of run in each seam here and illuminate the building at night. Okay, questions to ask. Normally I would ask if you have any questions here before I get into my own. So pop those into the chat and Mike will help you. Questions to ask. How does the manufacturer that you're working with demonstrate their understanding that this project is more of graphics than a glass installation? It's all about aesthetic, right? And what you are trying to achieve. And I think answering all of those aesthetic questions help drive you into the process you need to use. You know, is this more important to be viewed from the interior, exterior? Is it a double-sided installation? Is it wall cladding? Do we have transmission, light transmission through our ink, or are we looking for opacity? All of those questions need to be asked about how you want your graphic installation to look. Then we start choosing processes. Can the manufacturer that you're working with manage files and prepare artwork? You know, even a small conference room that's 10 feet tall and 15 feet wide with raster artwork, something that's a photographic image, is still gigabytes of information to manage. Size limitations of the process you are considering. This is an incredibly important question to ask, especially for exterior projects. Exterior glass is pushing boundaries all of the time. So we need to make sure that you don't have glass sizes that are exceeding the print process that you need. I'm going to read a number of these together. I think they kind of all go together. Can the manufacturer reference existing projects similar to yours? Are you purchasing from an actual manufacturer of the product and not a third party? Does the company you're working with demonstrate a full range of capabilities for all glass installations? And do they have proven performance in large and small scale projects? Those are questions that we ask for any product that's going into our built environment, right? It's all about just vetting a manufacturer, making sure you're working with somebody who actually controls their factory floor. We know there are more people selling every single product in the market than there are actually fabricating it and producing it. So just making sure you have gotten yourself to somebody who's got proven performance and history. Number 8, for this one, think back to that Museum of the Bible installation, right? Where you've got 8 floors of graphic glass, no 2 pieces of glass that are exactly the same size, shape. So how does the manufacturer support the glass installer, and with what type of installation documents? As an installer, this is going to arrive on your shop floor, probably in 12 different crates of glass. You likely don't have the space to stage it or the time, right? You need to be able to open a crate, grab a piece of glass, and know exactly where it's supposed to go in your installation. You need to understand directionality, right? How do you know that something's not being installed backwards, making sure that something is right reading? So are you working with the manufacturer who is going to support that glass installer? Ensure them that even though you have this completely custom installation that you've specified, that the manufacturer is going to make it easier for them. So making sure that you work with somebody who supports someone in those documents. Warranty and sustainability of products and services, and can they support that with performance testing? I think this is most critical and comes into play most often when we are talking about color stability and the longevity of that print, especially in an exterior project. Making sure that you are working with somebody who will warranty their product for the life of your project. How high is quality control when it comes to color and resolution? For this one, I like to use the analogy, you know, you've got a project or proposal that you're printing for work. You can put it on your flash drive and you can take it to FedEx Kinko's, and they'll probably ask you what paper type you want. And that's it. It's plug and play, right? Whatever comes off your flash drive is what's going to end up on that piece of paper. Or are you working with somebody who's doing offset printing? You're in conversation with their pre-press department. They're talking to you about Pantone color matching. Maybe they're making some recommendations to you on font sizes, changes that you might want to look at, in addition to how, you know, cardstock or whatever your printing type is going to be. So are you working with FedEx Kinko's, or are you working with a manufacturer who has that complete art department and pre-press department who's going to, you know, work with you on quality and color? And then do they archive projects for future replacement work? Glass breaks. We acknowledge that. Hopefully not often, but when glass breaks, you know, you've moved on to other projects, and your billable hours for what was installed 5 years ago are long gone. And so it needs to be easy, you know, for the replacement glazer who's called on site to make their way back to us to get a piece of glass installed quickly. Oftentimes that replacement glazer isn't even the person who installed it in the first time, you know, so we've got to make it easy so that they can get back to us. We have everything that they need to get something installed quickly, or make it back to whomever the manufacturer is. Make sure that project is archived. Installation and technical guidelines. This is what we have touched on, right? Those shop drawings that need to be prepared and submitted to you, to everyone, prior to glass hitting the production floor. When we do shop drawings, we use the glazer to provide glass sizes, butt joints, holes, notches, all the spacing that's required to make sure that the graphic that you've specified transitions beautifully panel to panel. Of course, architects and designers need to approve that aesthetic, but the combination of information from both gets signed off by everyone before hitting the production floor. And then those shop drawings serve as the installation key as well for the installers. File requirements for printed processes, TIFF or EPS files. You want to use TIFF files for raster artwork. You've got the highest resolution and most information in a TIFF file. And of course, EPS files for vector artwork. No CADs, no JPEGs, no PDFs. JPEGs and PDFs, they're meant for file transport. Too much information has been stripped from them to make them useful in printing. CAD's got an asterisk by it because occasionally a CAD file is for simple line work. Will work, but generally we'd still prefer to go to that EPS vector file whenever possible. And this concludes my presentation for today. We can open it up for some more questions that maybe need to be answered. In the files, again, you are going to find product data sheets for that PIX imaging technology, the pulp glass imaging, digital printing with ceramic inks, some information on Dermaglass, our Pulp Studio capabilities. And then again, you're free to reach out to me at any time, and I'll make sure that I connect you with the proper platform. Right.
Yeah, Karen, I'm going to join you here again. We had a couple of questions come through on the chat that might be worth sharing with the group.
Okay.
One of the questions was, can you print on Sgp the same as PVB?
No.
I'll let you talk to that subject there.
Yeah, unfortunately not. Sgp is not designed to be printed on. Maybe everybody can put a little bug in Karari's ear that we'd like to see that in the future, because I know that we would, but no, Sgp cannot be printed on. So a lot of times if you have that exterior installation where you know Sgp lamination is required, we're going to move to digital ceramic frit. Digital ceramic frit is a great one to combine with Sgp.
Okay. And there was some question about some of our maximum size, 96 by 236, which tends to be more driven by our heat treating process. Maybe you want to elaborate on some of that capability, that maximum size, and what we mean by that.
Sure, sure. You know, that maximum size for in digital ceramic frit and printing on PVBs that have that 96 by 236, you know, that is determined by the printers, also in combination with the heat treatment or what it has to go through. So if you run into somebody who has a digital ceramic frit maximum that is much smaller than 96 by 236, that could be driven by the printer that they're using, or more likely driven by the tempering furnace that they have and the ability that they have to heat treat. Maybe their heat treating maximums are much smaller than what they're printing on. So a lot of times it's the combination of processes that create maximum dimensions. So if you're printing on PVB, your PVB printer might be able to print 96 by 236, but can you also laminate it 96 by 236? So you have to be working with a manufacturer that both has those printing maximums that you need, as well as the fabrication maximums that you need. And again, if you, in the files are our capabilities. If you want to, you know, you can double check us on what our both printing maximums are, as well as the, combination of lamination or heat treating as well, to get to that end result of what that max size is. And that's something that all of our reps are we're happy to talk about at any time to make sure that you get exactly what you need.
Another question is a great question. I think would be good for the group here. What are the reasonable requirements for sample mock-ups and samples in a project? It's kind of an open-ended question. It kind of says depends.
Sure, it is. It is an open-ended question that says depends. There are a lot of times when we are working, let's just say that we're working on something that's fully photographic for the sake of this conversation. There are a lot of times when we're working on a fully photographic installation with an architect, and they know what they want. They've done their own mock-ups in-house. And they're willing to wait until a submittal process, to see something that's actually laminated in glass or printed ceramic frit. A lot of times when people want something up front, we work with architects and designers all the time. We do charge for those custom samples. But one thing to think about is we don't want to put anything in front of you or your customer that isn't representative or indicative of what your final output is going to be. So a lot of times what we're going to ask is that overall installation graphic image is already approved, so that we can see it in its full 10 feet of height and 18 feet in width. And we're going to sample 12 by 12. Normally what we'd sample is a 12 by 12. We'll make any size you want, but that's pretty typical for us, is to sample 12 by 12 portions of that overall graphic for you. Did I answer the question?
I think so. I think very well.
Yeah.
I think the bottom line answer was depends.
The bottom line answer is it depends, but we are happy to make samples at any time, and all of our reps can work through that with you. Yep.
We also had a question about the UV printing process. I believe that's not a process that we actually utilize at Pulp, but they're trying to compare that to vinyl. So I'm not sure we really can fulfill an answer to that question.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I can answer that. Vinyl. I'm not an expert in UV printing. We don't offer that and wouldn't recommend it just because it is not color fast. I do know that there are other, not for glass, but I believe UV printing is used a lot in the digital vinyl world for high resolution graphics. But when you're using that type of wall covering, you're in an interior installation only. So, it's not something that we would ever recommend for glass, and not something that we do in glass, but I'm sure that there are other appropriate uses kind of for that UV printing. Just not glass.
Just to share a kind of interesting, we run into this quite often. I had a comment about from an artist that can be online with us about some very high resolution photographs of some images. And that is an area that we have excelled in, some working with artists and replicating some of the graphics into a printed product. So if you want to share some of your experiences, our experiences with that area, to shed some light on that.
Yeah, it's I absolutely love when we are working with high resolution raster artwork, things that are fully photographic. That does, in this day and age, there are very few people carrying around the right Nikon to take a photo that can be automatically used in an architectural large scale installation. They exist, and the camera technology is evolving all the time. So maybe we'll all get there at some point. But your iPhone 13 cannot take a photo that can become a conference room wall. It just doesn't have the resolution and information that's there. We're very fortunate to have a great graphics department. And quite honestly, our art director came from the graphics world and learned glass. But we do excel at the kind of enhancement of the high resolution graphics. And it's a drum scanning process where we create a true print, a photograph of your digital image in the largest size that we can, still with an 800 DPI output. And then we go through a series of drum scans to blow it up even farther, basically turning it into a higher resolution, larger raster artwork that we can work with.
Great. I think one final question is just utilizing graphics in a shower surround type application. We touched base on printing on PVB. what are the right products to be using in a shower installation, wet environment? What are their options?
Well, so there's two different ways that we've used graphics in showers, right? You can use them as your wall cladding, in which case you want opacity to them, right? So that you are hiding however you are adhering them to the wall behind. In which case digital ceramic frit is absolutely the perfect installation for that. Where you've got your high resolution digital ceramic frit printing, which is great for those, opacity, opaque situations. Shower doors, of course, a lot of times people don't even want to use a laminated product for that. If you're using a laminated product for that, you've got to use Sgp if you're doing a fully frameless installation, in which case digital ceramic frit is the default to laminate with Sgp. If you have, I have seen some very cool showers where things are framed in kind of like more of a dark bronze. That's kind of a trend right now and very beautiful. So if you're framing your installation, you can print with, digital ceramic frit. You can print on PVB because you're creating a fully sealed and framed environment so that you're going to prevent that moisture wicking for a PVB lamination. Still would not want to print on photographic film for a wet installation at all. So that's the one print method that I would say is kind of automatically eliminated in a shower application. Okay. But the answer there again is it depends. It depends on how you're framing and installing what graphic method is going to be best. But we can do it. We've done it. We do it all the time for shower installations.
We have another question in regards to fire-rated glazing and incorporating graphics into that. And I believe you touched on this previously, but it might be worth going back and revisiting that topic a little more.
Yeah. So for an installation to be fire rated in the built environment, you need to purchase that glass through, one of your favorite fire rated manufacturers. I mentioned TGP and Safety because those are two companies that we work with a lot. But when you have a graphic installation that you need in a fire rated environment or a fire rated installation, the purchase is actually going to come, your purchase is going to be through TGP and SG or Safety. We provide the graphic glass portion to them, and then they create the units, whether it's a unit where, desiccant filled, whatever, but they create the fire rated unit. The sale goes through them, makes it to your installation. Same thing with that glass floor that we did with TGP. We built the glass, but then that glass was sent to TGP and installed with their fire rated framing system. So it's a collaboration. So whether you start with us or whether you start with your favorite fire rated manufacturer, we have that ability to collaborate together. And if you start with us, work you through the graphics and what's possible or not, we bring on your local, your local Safety TGP rep to help in that collaboration and make sure you get what you need in the built environment.
Thanks, Karen. Hey, just also, I've got a number of questions asking how people get credit, AIA credit. We may want to just repeat how that process
We'll refresh on that. So we, everybody who is still here now or who made it through the 45 minutes is going to get an email after this presentation. There will be a form that you have to fill out, name, email address, I believe it might ask for your firm or the city that you're in, and then your AIA number. And we will then take care of that submittal for you after you complete that form. So when you get that email, just make sure that you respond to that, get everything entered, so that we can make sure that your credits are done by the end of the year. And if there's anybody on here that needs IDCEC credits, you can self-report for IDCEC credits. You're welcome to send me an email. My email is up on screen now. I believe the form also has a way for you to complete that so that we mail you a certificate and you can self-report for IDCEC.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I think we've covered everything today. Great topic. Appreciate everyone's attendance today. Anything else, Karen, on your end?
No, thank you. Happy holidays, everyone. I hope you get to enjoy some time off with those you love.